tonight's meeting of June 24th, 2024. We will call this meeting to order, or actually it'll be zoning, eh? Oh, we're the 25th, sorry. June 25th. So we'll call this special zoning meeting to order. Madam Clerk, 6:32.
Be it resolved that this public meeting for zoning amendments be now open at 6:32 PM, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, second by Councillor Shane.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Any deletion or additions? Madam Clerk?
Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented, moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
All in favor of the motion? Seeing good. Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to the first presentation, 4.1 zoning amendments, application Z-2024-05 for Macmillan. We'll read the resolution and then I'll get the presentation.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont receives the planning report for a zoning amendment as submitted by the Township's junior planner and approves the recommendations therein for rezoning of Part Lot 31, Concession 6, roll number 0411-016-009-09000, Geographic Township of Roxborough, Township of North Stormont, from Mineral Aggregate Reserve, MA, to Rural, RU, to rezone the area where the existing buildings are located and rezone part of Lot 31, Concession 6, roll number 0411-016-009-11200, Geographic Township Roxborough, Township of North Stormont, from Rural, RU, to Rural Special Exception 30, RU-30, to prohibit residential use on property, and further recommend that council consider approving bylaw number 58-2024 at the regular meeting of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, second by Councillor Shane.
Thank you very much. Do I get Anmol or Anmol? So I'll leave it to our junior planner to bring us into the presentation.
I think 06? 05. So the owner of the property is Katie McMillan, but power of attorney is given to Margaret and Gregor Armour. They're the ones that are applying for her. The location of the property is 16335 County Road 9, Part Lot 31, Concession 6, and also Part Lot 31, Concession 6, but a different roll number, which is right beside the property. So the meeting is held under Section 34 of the Planning Act and is an open forum for the public and council to gather information, ask questions, and voice their comments and concerns. So notice of the public meeting was within 120 meters of the subject lands, and the notice was posted on a sign outside of the property and on the township website. And notice was also given electronically to the prescribed list established by the Planning Act. So if a person or a public body would like to appeal the decision that is made today to the Ontario Land Tribunal, they would need to make an oral submission or a written submission to the township clerk, either through email or written, or again, oral. So this is the site location. The blue area, the blue side of the location is getting rezoned from RU to RU30, and the red section is getting rezoned from MA to RU. So this is, it's highlighted in red, the property on the official plan, and it's zoned rural designation and mineral aggregate. So again, the current zoning in the zoning bylaw, the gray parts are rural and the gray mesh is mineral aggregate. So the proposed zoning for the severed portion of application B-6-2024 is to rezone the area where existing buildings are located from mineral aggregate to rural to permit the buildings on the land. And the zoning amendment is a required part of a condition for consent B-6-2024. And the proposed zoning for the retained portion of this application is to rezone the lands from rural to rural special exception 30, which will prohibit any residential development on the property. The zoning amendment, again, is a required part of the condition for consent for B-6-2024. As of June 18th, and as of right now, there's been no comments received from the public or other agencies. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions from members of council? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Yeah, thank you, Amal. How long have the buildings been on the pieces of land? Yeah.
I believe, wait for like 1920s, maybe I would say, waiting for the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
Was there in place?
Any questions? Councillor Shane?
Just one, is there any portion of the land being retained under mineral extraction, or is it all being rezoned over?
From the retained portion?
Yeah.
Yes, there still will be a section just north of where the buildings are that will remain mineral aggregate.
So in regards to the severance, is this a severance that you're actually severing a piece which could be a different ownership? Or is this just a tactic to occupy a certain zoning on their property so that they can put additional buildings up?
I believe it's just to fix the lot lines. It's one separate.
So the back portion or the aggregate part, is it still gonna be in the same ownership, or is it something that's, it's
Still in the ownership of the retained.
perfect, okay. So seeing no further questions, I do have a mover and seconder already labeled, so all in favor of acceptance. Okay. Oh, sorry, I don't know if there is members of the public that are here for the purpose of the McMillan. Any members of the public that would like to add some comments?
Not really, I'm just here to read it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So with that said, all in favor of the report, motion is carried. Moving on to zoning amendment application Z-2024-06, which is under the 30 Labradus in Moose Creek.
The Council of the Township of North Stormont receives the planning report for zoning amendment as submitted by the Township Consultant Planner and approves the recommendations therein for the rezoning of 30 LaBrosse Street, Moose Creek from general commercial CG to residential second density R2 and general commercial special exception 19, CG-19, and further recommend that council consider approving bylaw number 59-2024 at the regular meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you. Again, I'll pass it on to Anmal to move, or Peter, to move into the second zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this, as was read out, it's for 30 LaBrosse Street in Moose Creek. And just on the next slide, the meeting's being held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. And the next slide, similar slide just to the first meeting, it was sent to owners of land and posted on the website. And just the next slide, there are certain appeal rates, which some of that's actually changing, but generally there's need to participate in the process if you would like to appeal. So many people will be familiar with the site, with the mall there, surrounded by the church, residential, some commercial, some industrial, and the rail corridor. So if we go to the next slide, the proposal is for Rothmar Holdings to redevelop the property, having a couple couple residential lots and converting the balance property to mini warehouse and storage. So they would be rezoning for the semi-detached dwellings, converting the ground floor to mini warehouse, adding mini warehouse buildings in the back of the property, and changing some of the access to the property. So you'll see in the next slide the concept. So in the top left, those are the proposed semi-detached. You can see in the back is the mini warehouse and storage. And then there's the existing mall, which would be converted for some ground floor warehouse, and also retaining some of the residential there, and just some tweaks to the parking, things like that. Going to the next slide, the official plan, it is in the commercial district, in the official plan in the village of Moose Creek. In the zoning, it is commercial zoned right now. And you'll see in the proposal is for the front of the property to be rezoned to R2 in that front corner. The rest would get a commercial exception, the exceptions to permit the mini storage. And then there's various requirements for parking and lanes and things like that that would be part of their detailed site plan. So as of when we wrote this report, and still currently, we haven't received any comments from the public or the agencies. Just the official plan doesn't allow for the standalone uses. So if council is supportive of this proposal, when we're next updating the plan, we would look at making a change for those semi-detached to permit those uses on the property. And that's kind of detailed in the report as well. But the proposal is for one property to now and potentially separate those semi-detached dwellings in the future. If Nancy, we could go back to the concept. We do have a representative from the proposed developer on the line as well, if there's questions for them, and I'd be happy to turn it back to the mayor for the meeting.
Thank you very much. I'll go on with the members of council if there's any questions. Deputy Mayor Densham.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's good to see something happening with this building. I'm very encouraged by this. So a couple of things. One, in terms of the services for the dwellings, are we comfortable that there will be services available? And the other piece is what comes up always when it's close to a road. What about driveway length and the amount of parking for these? Can you speak a little bit to both those issues, Peter?
For sure. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So in terms of the servicing, that would be dealt with separately through the land division and the building permit process. So typically, if they are severing the lots, they would have to apply for capacity at that time. Now, this would be part of more under the infill part rather than the new subdivision development. So there are different allowances for that. At the zoning stage, we're looking at what's the overall proposal. Do the uses kind of fit well with surrounding uses? But if they're getting into the land division, site plan, detailed design, that's where we'd be asking for specific capacity allocations before building permits could be issued. So at this point, it would be generally, these are the types of uses. Again, they have here secondary units with, or semis with the secondary units as well. If they only applied for capacity for, let's say, just 2 semis, then they couldn't build the accessory apartments maybe until there was capacity. So in the zoning, they might look at a more of a maximum, but within that, they'd have to apply for capacity for each development. For the driveways, this site plan was reviewed with the county roads department as well. And because it's a slower speed limit and they would permit those entrances. Now we would work with the county would work with the township as well on entrance permits and for the sidewalks to ensure that's kind of continuous and that makes sense, as well as any service cuts. But the concept was reviewed by the various departments just before this came to council, and in general are okay, but detailed design would be required for stormwater management at a later date.
Any further question, Councillor Shane?
It's nice to see some development going on in Moose Creek Growth Potential, but my only question was about the capacity for our sewers, which you have answered.
Go ahead.
Another question. So the mini warehouse and then the storage, the two storage buildings, will that all be severed to be one entire lot? All of that will be on one lot, and then the semi-detached dwellings will be either 2 or maybe 4 lots eventually? Is that how to read that?
Yes, that's the proposal under this, is they at a later date would potentially be severed and then maybe divided through part lot control. But at the beginning, it could all be on one lot. Eventually, the plan would be to sever the residential, but keep the rest of the commercial in one lot. I guess in the future, that could change, but the parking's kind of integrated on both sides of it, so it might not make sense unless they reconfigure the parking. So this plan would be 2 commercial lots that would be subdivided again, or 2 residential lots could be subdivided again, and then 1 big commercial lot.
Yeah, I think frontage for the warehouses in the back would be difficult to satisfy from a driveway.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah, and the existing residential, the back entrance there is fairly narrow. It's only 4 meters wide. So it's kind of, can only have one-way traffic.
One question, Peter. So there was no comments received as when the agenda was published, which is almost a week ago. Has there been anybody inquire as far
No.
as?
And no one's come in, I don't think either, yeah.
No? Thank you. Perfect. Well, I think we've answered a question, so the report's been read. So any questions from members of the? See none, I see Monsieur Therese here with us. He could have had some answers maybe for us, but so I think we are all good with that. So with the report being read, all in favor of accepting the report, motion is carried. So that leaves it for our ratification bylaw. Item 6.1, bylaw number 53-2024, Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 53-2024, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify council's actions at its zoning meeting of June 25th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 25th day of June 2024, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor Shane.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion is carried. Moving into our adjournment at
Be it resolved that this public meeting adjourn at 6:49 PM, moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
again, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Michel, Madame Tara, si vous voulez rester, vous êtes la bienvenue. On va, so moving on right away to, we have a fairly big agenda, so we'll move on to our regular agenda of June 25th, 2024. If I can call this meeting to order. Oh, sorry, 6:50.
Be it resolved that this regular meeting now open at 6:50 PM, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor Shane.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Is there any opening remarks from members of council? Seeing none, just to announce, so Councillor McDonald and Councillor Bajelli had to send their regrets, so they're not, could not Zoom either, so they will not be participating in tonight's meeting. So moving on to the adoption of the agenda.
Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented, moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in nature there? Seeing none, moving on to our delegation. So I'd like to welcome Mrs. Patterson and is it Hendricks? John Hendricks. Welcome, and you're gonna speak to us in regards to the flocks and small flocks and perfect.
It's gonna be a very brief presentation, but you can ask some questions after if you want. We'll answer for you.
Thank you.
So-
Salut Michel.
In Ontario, there's about 2,000 commercial poultry flocks, but there are over 25,000 small flocks. And they felt that there was, they felt they needed to get some attention to these small flock producers because there was no way to get information out to them. So they decided to, they bring awareness to them. So the Poultry Industry Council, along with OMAFRA, the federal government, and the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership, put a bunch of money into a pot for a 2-year project to try and get information out there. So what they did was they hired case officers. So John and I are case officers, and all of this pertains to keeping your birds healthy and safe with avian influenza. So we're trying to protect the large flocks by educating the small flocks. So it's really all about education. We had an instance about 1.5 years ago in the Alfred Plantagenet area, which got quite out of hand with small flocks. So they saw this happening and they tried to, you know, maybe we can help these guys. There's a lot of movement with birds, with sales going on and stuff. So these people need to know when they shouldn't be having sales, when there is avian influenza present. It's a disease that's reportable, and obviously your flock has to be euthanized once it has that disease. There's no coming back to this. So the project, it's been 1 year currently in the works, and it will end potentially April 1st, 2025, unless they get some more funding. But as it looks now, so there's a website, Small Flock Ontario. That website will remain live, and anyone can go on that website and get information and email them and ask any information about small flocks. So what we try to do is we have a small flock newsletter sign-up list. So what we do is John and I were at the farm show this spring, so we filled 4 pages of these out, and all these people are getting that information in Eastern Ontario, at least, and parts of Quebec, about small flock, about avian influenza, and if it's in their area, at least they know that it's in their area. So basically that's what we're doing. We're going to feed dealers, we're visiting municipalities, we're attending fairs, farm shows, anything like that. So we have all kinds of flyers here for people. I'll leave some with Nancy Ann at the end that she can hand out to people. So it's basically just teaching people how to keep their birds safe and that sort of thing. So what we did with our initiative was we had these backpacks. And so we were handing out backpacks at the farm show, and it has a disinfectant in it. And booties and stuff like that. So just really trying to educate people, educate them about how to build their coops. So we have flyers on urban backyard flocks and rural backyard flocks. And we have lots of information about avian influenza. So basically, we were like people were like sponges. They really wanted this information. Like they were like coming to our booth and they were like, so happy to get this information, because otherwise they had no way of knowing where to get it or how to get it. So feed dealers are happy to get it. Municipalities have really welcomed us as well, because they have projects going on. A lot of them have, like you do here, some things in the works, whether should we allow them or should we not allow them. So this is sort of giving them a little bit of a basis to maybe kind of go from, if they know that there's a site and they know somewhere where they can get help. And I'll let John talk a little bit about the segregation and the lack of poultry. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, the newsletter thing that we have people signing up for, I noticed this afternoon, if you're on the newsletter, you'll get updates on things happening in Ontario and if there's outbreaks of certain disease. And this afternoon, there was one came through, and I'm not sure what it was. It wasn't avian flu, but there was at least 10 counties in Ontario where there's been an outbreak of some bird disease. So if you sign up to the newsletter, and you know, and I tell all the feed mills too, you know, if